there, welcome back. I'm going to talk today for What the Hell Is This is Jade, the William Friedkin film from the mid-90s that came and went, bombed horribly. It literally was gone within that weekend it was released. It was like, it made so little money that it just was like, boom. So it cost, for that time it was like 40 million, so that was quite a lot of money. And it pretty much ruined. It was meant to be part of Friedkin's comeback. It ruined that. It was David Caruso's exit from NYPD Blue. It ruined his movie career. Lyndon Fiorentino was the big sex symbol outside of Sharon Stone. It ruined her big screen career. And Chaz Palminteri was just coming up from a Bronx Tale when it kind of he had Usual Suspects running at the same time, so that helped him. But you didn't see him in many big blockbuster films after this. So it was a total wipeout as a film. It just was a disaster for everyone involved. It was... And Joe Eszterhaz wrote the script. It and Showgirls both came out within a month or two of each other. And there was both films he's paid a lot of money for, and both bombed horribly. Although Showgirls has made his money back over time, because it was a cult film and it kept making money back. And that was partially because Paul Verhoeven was directing, and Paul Verhoeven understood that Joe Eszterhaz makes trash. He's a trash merchant. In his scripts, in his erotic thriller scripts, that's what he does, makes trash. Friedkin was trying to do something else, and it was a real mismatch between director and material. But it's not as bad as his reputation suggests. It's interesting failure, because Friedkin, although he can be frustrating as a director, and he's made lots of films that haven't worked, even if the films don't work, they tend to be interesting in how they failed. Because Friedkin likes films where the protagonist behaves like what their job would be, rather than doing Fantasyland. And that's the big first thing, is like, in the film, Crusoe's playing an assistant DA who's on a case working with the cops, which should be an interesting situation. But he basically has to behave like a cop in the script and investigating things and work with the police, but he's doing a lot of things that feel very police focused. And it feels like a real thing where the script had him behave that way, and Friedkin's kind of trying to make it work, but it doesn't really work because it's not a good idea. And Friedkin rewrote a lot of the script, and annoyed Eszterhaz a lot with that. But there's still some Eszterhaz stuff in there that's appalling, because Eszterhaz has a way of dialogue that Verhoeven managed to do it properly. Verhoeven understood he was dealing with someone who writes characters like bigots. He writes characters who say things that are very bigoted and very, just horrible. I mean, Eszterhaz scripts tend to have dialogue which you wince at. And this is not just modern sensibility. This is, at the time, you were wincing at some of it. It was like, well, this is like the bad version of the 70s exploitation era. It worked better than Basic Instinct because the actors understood how to say the script and not make it sound like it's exploitation trash, or not much. But even then, there was still some dialogue in Basic Instinct. It was like, oof. Here it's much worse. Here it really is. That people are talking. It does feel like the actors are cringing sometimes. So they have to keep some of the Eszterhaz stuff in there, even though Friedkin's trying to move it off to another thing. So you have pretentious dialogue. The working classes talk like bigots. And the sense of good and evil tends to be very polarised, and just, they're trying to do a film noir. Eszterhaz tries to do film noirs and suspense thrillers where you never know who's who and who's what. He's trying to update it, but he does write the scripts. Instead of the scripts being smart arse and being people who are smart, the scripts just show characters to be dumb. And Friedkin doesn't have a problem having dumb characters in his films, but he tries to make them realistic. And he tries to make it work for realism. Eszterhaz is not about that. So as you see, there's a tension there straight away of two types of character, a director and a writer who have as opposite as possible philosophy, because Eszterhaz is just about the suspense and about the revelation, and it doesn't really matter if it makes that much sense. And really, and this is a plot where you pretty much know who did it from the start. Like, I remember figuring it out in 5 minutes when I first saw the film, and when I rewatched it here, I refigured it out in 5 minutes. It's so obvious, the plot. So, the big script they bought for all this money has plot mechanics that are tawdry and don't work. So, essentially, you have a situation where the characters don't figure it out in 5 minutes. They're stupid. So, that's not a good start. And they don't have the thing with Basic Instinct where, yeah, we think she's guilty, but she's going to start messing with you, so you're never quite sure. Here it's just much more looking for evidence and trying to figure it out. And they don't even explain why it's called Jade. Like, one of the characters has another name, Jade, but they don't explain why it's called Jade. It's like, well, that's a title, you should explain that, you know. But no, that would be too easy. That would be too much, like, the explanation would... A lot of things would help in this film to explain, but it's not... The actors are stranded with bad dialogue. I mean, Caruso is trying his best. He gets savaged in this film for leaving NYPD Blue to do this film. And he's always been a pretty decent actor. He's just, in this one, he's stranded in a film where I get the feeling his instincts and Friedkin's instincts are probably more in tune and against Eszterhaz stuff, which is like try and be realistic and try and be unsentimental and be terse about a guy thinking and trying to figure things out. And he's not been given any support with the script. So, I mean, he doesn't really have a character. He's a character who's investigating something. But the only things he's really given are he's a lapsed Catholic who goes back to church every so often. He's in love with London Fertino's character, but she's married to Chaz Palminteri. He knows they're involved somehow with these murders and he's trying to protect them. But you don't really have an idea of who he is beyond that. And because you've got the dislocation between an actual procedure where people behave realistically and this tawdry extravaganza, you don't have the kind of melodrama of a tawdry extravaganza. You don't have the realism that would actually make you understand where the characters come from. So Caruso's kind of stuck in between two different things that don't work together. So is Fiorentino, so is Palminteri. Fiorentino comes off best, apart from one terrible scene where he tries to do a speech, and it feels like it's the first take of something complicated technically. And it's like, why is this in the film? This is terrible. The rest of the film, she's fine, but she's not been given, like... She's given like half a character. It's not it's the most interesting character because it's basically a riff on Belle de Jour, where you've got a responsible, respectable person who begins to work as a prostitute because civilized life is not doing anything for her. So she ends up sleeping with all these important men, and it's something that could be fascinating, especially the Crusoe character of him dealing with that inside the law. It's like the characters should have been much more interactive and they're not, and it's like, okay, that's an issue for a film. It's also a film that's meant to be sold in sex, where you don't want to see most of the actors with their clothes off, and it's like, no, don't. I mean, Friedkin approaches sex like it's an autopsy of sexuality. That's the problem, and it just doesn't work. So that becomes an issue where the two characters who should have the most interaction do not have any interaction beyond a couple of basic scenes. Chaz Palminteri comes off worst because his character is meant to be someone who's a slick lawyer, but it's also got a really dark side to him that comes out, and he's sleeping around, and he just doesn't, you don't buy it for a second. He doesn't feel like a lawyer. He doesn't feel like a guy who's feels comfortable playing a character who's this sleazy. Palminteri tends to play like street smart decency. In this one, he's playing scumbag, and he's not very comfortable, and he's not very good at it. And it's like obviously a miscast character. And basically, if the film had cast that character right, it probably would have helped a lot, because he's a third of the third leg of the thing. And so basically, you've got one actor miscast. You have another actor who's got a problem with the script's going in two different directions. The script writer's going in different directions, and your leading lady who's stuck with an underwritten part, and she's trying her best to make it work, but it's so much lack of explanation. But Florentine was still the best thing in the film by a mile. There's other supporting actors like Michael Biehn, who shows up as a cop, who's obviously dirty from the off. There's Richard Crenna as the governor, who's obviously corrupt. There's lots of other people running around who are corrupt. There's a young Hope McClanahan who's showing a lot of Fincher films later on. He's got nothing to do, but he knows the Bean character, and they're obviously both very dodgy. There's all these cop characters who are always very suspicious. Again, this is something could have been mined, but it's not. It just floats there. There are some good chase scenes. Like there's a chase scene through Chinatown, which is actually good. There's which ends with the car knocked off the pier, which is pretty effective. There's a rolling car earlier on that works pretty well. So when Friedkin gets to be Friedkin, it works. And when he gets to do procedural things, it kind of works. He gets good at atmosphere for around all the Asian stuff. He likes all that stuff. But whenever you get to any kind of element which requires sensitivity, the Eszterhaz script becomes crude as hell, and there's no escape from it. It should have been one of those. It should have been a Friedkin project where we had to rewrite the whole thing and ignore Eszterhaz, or it should have been some other director with a totally different cast. It couldn't be both, and you had a mismatch of two people who should not be in the same project together. And that's the interesting thing of the film is that mismatch. I mean, the film itself, I don't think would ever be good unless you had someone like Verhoeven coming in and rewriting it and actually getting and just playing with it and actually being playful the way Verhoeven can be. You don't have that here. It's taken seriously, and you're taking trash seriously, and it just doesn't work. And it's that thing, is like, it would have been cool for Friedkin to work with this cast and something else, and they'd plot a decent film. Like, it's like, no, apart from Palminteri, who can be good in other stuff, but he's been miscast. There's no one bad in this film, really. They're just like miscast, or they're given rubbish things to do. And even Palminteri, you can work with Friedkin fine in other projects. It's just like, it doesn't work at all. It just never comes together. It's got that feeling of two people who just can't stand each other in a room together, and we get a film out of it. So that's Jade. I don't want to go into details about how tawdry some of the sex stuff is. It's just boring, really. It's just like it's just there, and Friedkin tries his best to make it interesting, but it's not his métier, and what they're trying to do in it is not really his thing, and that just comes across. So, yeah, this is, for what the hell is this, is a recommendation to watch it, because it is such a mismatched mess. And I still have a soft spot for it, even though it's such a disaster. But you can see why it got terrible reviews. You can see why it was a problem project. It was just like, from the off of who you chose to direct and who you cast in it, and actually just choosing that script, I think is a big thing. It was one of those things that they should have never paid money for that script. They paid money because Basic Instinct came out and that was the next script, and they wanted a hit. But this film was not ever going to be a hit. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. Right, bye.